It's the Monday edition here on Zero Block 30, but it has more of a Chaps and Kate feel. It has like we're leading in Barstool Radio like Kate and I used to do. So if you don't know and you don't follow the Barstool world, which I imagine there's some of you who don't, there's been big drama, right, Catherine? Some big drama.
There's big drama at the office, and it's people.
I know it's killing you because you want to be so like no waves or anything like that. So I know you hate it when there's strife.
I hate conflict. I hate strife. I hate conflict. I always try to put myself in other people's shoes because it's so easy for all of us like to throw stones when we're all fucked up and we all have our stuff. And I remember being when you're young and in love and whatever, like it's a different, people are allowed to live their lives. But in this arena that we're in, it's so public. And what Chaps is alluding to is we have a coworker who dated another coworker for a long time. They broke up and then they began dating another coworker. And so it's this kind of love triangle that's gotten very messy because and it's the creepiest thing. This new couple was spotted out in Seattle.
See, I don't think it's picture, creepy. Posted it to Reddit. I've heard that a bunch. So there was this picture that was taken of Marty and Rhea whenever they were out on the street in Seattle, where Marty like appears to be kissing like the nape of her neck and she's kissing his hand and things like that. And people are like, oh, it's so creepy. But if you make your money and you make your living and your entire personhood involves being online, you cannot then, when you are out in public, be surprised that people are expecting you to be that public facing person. Like to me, if you work in our jobs and somebody takes a picture of you out in town, I think kids are a little bit different. Like if you did it to like Big Cat or Kevin with his kids, that's clearly fucked up. Like don't do that. But if it's adult business doing adult things, I don't know, man. Like I have a hard time saying that person's out of line, because if I saw, let's just put it in a different perspective, like a different company on it. If I saw like fucking some D-list celebrity, like let's say I saw who's another good D-list celebrity? Fucking, I don't know. So a D-list celebrity. If I saw them kissing on the street, buddy, I'm whipping my cell phone out and taking a picture and tweeting that. Yeah, Carrot Top. Top's out there fucking jerking his dick off or something behind a garbage can. I'm taking a picture of it.
Yeah, I'm sure part of them, because they've been a serious couple for a little while now, like I'm sure part of them's relieved that it's out there, because what are they going to do? It's summer's coming up and like, what are you going to do? Hide in your house all summer New York and City? Not be together? Right. So, I mean, it was going to come out eventually. I think the thing people are having trouble with is that it seems to have come out in a way that feels disrespectful to Hank, the previous person. So, but I still think you can date whoever you want to date. Like I have empathy and I feel, because we're human beings and it's messy and we do things all the time that are just wacky. So I don't know.
Oh yeah. Who amongst us as military veterans hasn't been attracted to somebody that we shouldn't be, right? I mean, that just happens all the time, whether it be like platoon mate or something like that, because that's whenever it really goes down. Like somebody that's in your platoon or company, whenever you're in the military, none of your supervisors like it, but you've seen it a million times happen. Like it happens all the time in the military, all the time.
Well, that's who I ended up marrying, was somebody we were in different like platoons, but we were in the same unit, but it never affected, like we didn't work together. Like it was never a problem. And when we were at work, it's not like they were never weird here at work. They never, ever brought it to work. It was never an issue here at work. Like, so I don't know. I just think people should mind their business, man. I don't know, but you're right. When we're in this arena, you have to expect that people are going to see it and people are going to have a lot to say, especially here where we're working now.
And you have to admit, even you, Katie, even though you hate it, the drama is delicious.
I was sitting in the control room today watching live.
Do not deny it. You want to. I know you do, but it's so delicious.
I know, but when it's you, it feels
very terrible.
Like, I think we all know what it feels like to be on the other side of that.
Dude, that's what broke my fucking that I had been arrested before was Reddit.
Yeah. And like Hannah, the thing with Brandon Walker's sister, like that is, and we're all of us, like I made a video poking fun, not at her, but like at the situation, like it just, everybody piles on, it becomes this thing. And so I definitely have empathy for Rhea and for, I don't know about for Mark. No, I'm just kidding. But I feel for Hank too, because it sucks for Hank. It sucks for everybody. Like, I don't know. I feel for everybody. I can see all sides of it. I hate this stuff. I hate it.
But you got to do it. We're going to sit in this for a little while, Catherine. That's
what I think. When I think publicity, we have a PR expert who has a show here, Publicity. I think she could get a ton of numbies right now if she came up with a strategy for the couple.
Well, why don't you come up with one? What would your strategy be?
My strategy would probably be to just lean into it and then not
make out
comments.
Right there on the rundown.
Make out on the rundown. Yep, I'm making out on the rundown couch. Maybe.
I mean, really, I joke, but that legit could work. I mean, if you have that type of thing going on, once you're out there making out, it's no longer a secret, folks. Like, what else can you do? Like, if you're just
I will say, I waited until Pat got fired from here to have a baby with him.
True. Oh, I forgot about that. Maybe that's why it's feeling a little personal.
Right. He used to work here. And so,
I do remember how awkward that was when you guys would try to hide it and do content together, making lovey eyes and like, oh, you little so-and-so. You, Pat, your mullet's so cute.
Our producer, Nick, met his wife at work. A lot of people meet. And I will say, Marty has.
I met my wife at Sunday school.
Yeah. I hate when you say that without context. I hate it so much. I will say, like, he is right in that Barstool becomes a bubble, sort of, where a lot of us aren't from here. A lot of it, like, so these are your friends. This is who you hang out with. You don't have many people outside the bubble. And so it kind of becomes like, this is who you hang out with. This is who you date. This is who you like, whatever. It does become, I hate the word incestuous, but like, there's probably a good amount of that here, honestly. Like,
incest.
I don't know.
Wow.
No. I'm just saying it is like very like cliquey place to work. It can be.
Yeah, that's why I say like working at Barstool is very, very similar to being in the military. Like even with like some of the things that you have to do, like you're doing dumb shit, things that you don't necessarily agree with sometimes, but you just have to kind of play your part and shut up and do your own thing. Like I feel like there's a lot of similarities that goes along with it, but betrayal. Do you think it's a betrayal? Don't answer that. Do you? No.
Do I think it's a betrayal?
Yeah.
If they didn't tell him, it stinks, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like you should be able to do what you want to do.
I don't know when bro code establishes. At what level of friendship does like bro code? Because that's, I think, of all the egregiousness and why people are upset, it's because there is a bro code and people can say, no, it's not. But the bro code applies to everybody. Like you couldn't do that. Like with one of your good friends, you couldn't go date her boyfriend or ex-husband or something like that. It would be frowned upon there. But Hank and Marty have both said that they're not really like friends. They work together. So how much do you actually owe somebody that you just work with? I still think a good bit.
I don't know, but they're acquaintances. And I think like the worst part to me is that I feel like Rhea's going to take like a ton of heat for this simply because she's the woman in this situation. Yeah. And that sucks. She's what, early 20s. You're young. You're in the city. Like you are in a bubble kind of. And like, so the fuck what? That's how I feel. I like Hank. I like Marty. I like Rhea. I like them all. So, and like, that sounds corny, but it's true. So I guess I just let people live and let live. Nobody among us. Who among us? You know,
Hoops among us hasn't done that.
Hoops amongst us.
Yeah. I've never personally, unlike Kate, I've never dated a Barstool employee because I would never dip my dick in the company ink, which is disgusting. That's what Khan said this morning when we were texting. He said, "Dip my dick in the company ink." It's like that's very unbecoming.
It is.
I mean, he's changed since he's gone to France. Well, we have other things to talk about today on the show as well. We have 5 rounds in the magazine. Round number 1, betrayal. We're going to get into some of the biggest military betrayals in the history of the world. Round number 2, hashtag not my Barstool and not my army. The army has announced that drill sergeants will no longer be screaming in the faces of new recruits as soon as they land there at their boot camps and things like that. How do you feel about that initially? Good or bad?
People are going to hate my take on that too.
I know. Round number 3.
Hate my take on all of it.
Curiouser. More Russian energy heads are waking up dead. Some of them with toxins running through their veins at a rate that has never been seen. Round number 4, Mark Esper, the former Secretary of Defense, is releasing a book, and it talks about the craziest shit you've seen so far this week. Really flying under the radar. I feel like because the last 6 years has been so insane, some of the things that are going to come out in Mark Esper's book are legitimately crazy town, where you're like, you couldn't even write a Netflix show about that, but it was real life. And it's so crazy now that people will just be like, whatever. That's just part of it. Finally, round number 5, your internet history might be your most protected information that you would want to be protected. But what would you hate if you had it released on the internet? And you cannot use porn, because that is the most common answer. So porn cannot be an answer. Me and Kate are going to deliver those. And all that today is going to be brought to you by our good friends at WhistlePig. If you haven't tried WhistlePig yet, you need to. It is fantastic. It's delicious. They are created with 100% rye whiskey for the perfect sipping and mixing drink. Piggyback is made with 100% rye whiskey for a bold, full, spicy flavor. It's a bartender's dream. It's perfect for mixing up cocktails. My buddy Dockrell actually texted me this weekend, was very upset because I was an integrity violator. I admit that I was an integrity violator. I have a bunch of whiskey here. I have a bunch of WhistlePig whiskey here. And I told him whenever he invited me to speak at his ball last November at the Marine Corps ball, I was like, "Bud, I'm going to send you a whole case. I got a whole case with your name on it at home, 6 bottles." He texted me back on Saturday afternoon, and he was like, "Look, I waited a long time, but I need to say it. You're a fucking liar." He's right. I have to go as soon as we're done today.
You better send it, dude.
I am. As soon as we're done today, I'm going to take it down to UPS and send it away so I can be a person of my word once again.
I had 2 of them on Saturday night.
I saw that you were getting ready to get into it a little bit.
Watching the fights. Yep.
I had some in the pool for Mother's Day yesterday. It was lovely. I had a good time doing that as well. Make sure you go get your own bottle at shop.whistlepigwhiskey.com or at any local retailer around you. All right, let's get going with the actual show. But before we do that, give us a Mother's Day update, Katie. I need to hear.
Mother's Day update on my end. I think you forgot. And then at some point in the afternoon, we were outside and another family wished me a happy Mother's Day. And he said, "Oh, happy Mother's Day." And that was my Mother's Day. And then I took the baby to the park on my own. It was a delight. Anyways, what I really wanted to talk about, just really quickly, the last episode was about how Roe versus Wade is going to affect military families. And when I told my story about how I got an abortion when I was a PFC, I braced myself I thought my DMs were going to be flooded with hate. And I thought the comments were going to be a nightmare. And I thought, like, I was like shaking, and I was super high anxiety. Like I couldn't eat.
Because you've experienced that before with other controversial issues.
And like, it wasn't that I felt guilty or bad or like was upset about what I'd done. It was just like, oh man, like as long as I've been doing this, it still is nerve wracking. Mm-hmm. And I was overwhelmed. When I tell you, I didn't get one single nasty Instagram DM, like not a single one, not one. Wow. I was flooded instead with messages from both men and women who, whatever the reason was, medical, personal choice, whatever. I had a young enlisted guy reach out. My girlfriend and I just went through this, and thank you. I shared this with her because like it was so difficult, blah, blah, blah. I had a military family in one of the trigger states say, "We're doing IVF and now we're afraid we're going to have to stop because blah, blah, blah." I had women reaching out to me saying, "Well, funny story. I got pregnant as a married person, a wanted pregnancy, and the medical staff treated me still badly. Like I was a waste of resources." Like I had women reaching out pregnant saying it still sucks in the military. I had women reaching out who had miscarriages in the military who said they were treated less than. Some of the messages that I was getting were just heartbreaking. I was just blown away, and just so many kind messages of support. And I also got messages from people who disagree with me, but who were still so respectful about it, and just really civil conversations with people. I don't know. I guess I'm rambling here, but I was so overwhelmed by the amount of responses, and it was from people on both sides of the fence. And I just, every time I kind of underestimate the goodness of people, because you look online and it's like a shit show, I'm always reminded with this group, like the ZBT followers, Barstool, like Stoolies and stuff, I'm always reminded like people are so genuinely good. And it's actually coming out with this. And like, I told my parents for the first time before the episode came out, which was one of the most difficult things I've ever done, quite honestly. And the response from them too was, you know, we don't agree, whatever, but we will always love you and we have your back no matter what. Like, it just, the whole thing turned out to be a wildly positive experience for me and a really powerful one. And I'm just following still the news on that really closely, but I just have so much love for everybody who reached out. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to give it.
Sorry,
no. Don't be sorry. This is your fucking show. It's like there is some things that I want to point out too. Shout out to the Air Force and Army who made command decisions at the highest level that any of their troops who are in states that have restrictive abortion policies, they're going to not only allow you to go get those procedures done, but they're also not going to permit commanders to ask why they're going to get these procedures, where you just have to say, I'm going to for a medical appointment, a medical procedure, and that's it. And there's no denying leave or anything like that. Huge shout out to them. Navy and Marine Corps, get your fucking shit together and do the same thing. The Air Force is absolutely blowing the other branches of service out for as far as caring for all of the people that are in uniform, which I highly respect. Between that and allowing people that have trans kids or they're transgender themselves to be able to go to different states and to become a part of the exceptional family member program with kids like that is just absolutely what needed to happen. And the Air Force is the only branch of service that's doing that so far. And they're also one of the only two that are doing what they need to do to help women be able to make decisions that they need for their own healthcare and their own body autonomy. Let's move on. We're going to start with round number one. This one is a big round, not really have anything to do with anything, but I just wanted to really tie in so we could have the title of the podcast be Betrayal, because I do still work on clicks and I'm in the click business. That is why you're here most likely. True. So we are going to title this Betrayal. And in order to make that title make sense, we're going to talk about some of the biggest betrayals in the history of military conflict. Kate, what do we have here?
Buddy, we have, and by the way, too, speaking of, before we get into it, we have this guy who's kind of like that A character in Gossip Girl, who she follows what everyone's doing. And she tells everybody, like, I saw so-and-so at this park canoodling.
She's kind of like Lady Featherington. Not Lady Featherington. Not who is it? Not Lady Featherington.
Bridgerton.
Yeah, Bridgerton. But who's the one that actually gives like the information?
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. But we have that guy here who's also claiming that a bunch of us here have burner accounts on Twitter and Reddit, and that they're going to disclose that. And I have to admit, I have one, a Twitter account. It's called Hard for Motivation. That's my burner, and it just tweets out weird motivational facts, but I don't do anything weird with it. So, that's chaps, do you have any burner accounts?
No, and people were talking about Reddit burners accounts. I couldn't do it because it took me forever to learn how to use Reddit. Like forever. Yeah. I would. Yeah. No shot. When I first started, there's only like 2 Reddit pages that I knew existed. It was Offbeat, which is like weird news, and then Not the Onion. Those are the only 2 ones that I would go to in order to find like blogging materials. Oh, and Just Boot Things is a military one that I enjoy.
Yeah, I have an account now that I just live on the Philly account, and I give people, when the tourists are like, where do I go? What do I do? I'm like, oh, here's what you could do. It's anyway, so that's nothing weird by me. But that's there could be more betrayal coming up. Lady Whistleton, thank you. But there could be more betrayals afoot. Who knows if that will be released. Anyway, if betrayal by numbers is anything to go by, Austrian army officer Alfred Redl takes the cake. Before and during World War I, Redl worked as a spy for the Russian military and sold secrets about the Austrian army. Redl leaked the Austrian invasion plan for Serbia, which Russia in turn sold to Serbia. He continued to double-cross his countrymen by supplying the wrong information about Russia's military strength and exposing Austrian agents to the enemy. The results were catastrophic for the Austrian army. His actions contributed to the deaths of 500,000 Austrians. Redl committed suicide after Austrian police discovered his betrayal.
I feel like if you do something like that, that's your only option. You cannot get caught, because if you do, buddy.
And the odds of you getting caught are extremely high. And what's really in it for you then?
Like the money that you would get from it, I guess it could be substantial, like amount of money that you would get, but you're gonna die. You're gonna die.
You're gonna die. And if you do live for however long, you have to live with the fact that you've killed tens and tens
500,000 people,
thousand of your own countrymen. So that's That's kind of rough, but it goes to show you it only takes one person fucking up to
Yeah. I mean, it was like those, we did a story a couple months ago about those sailors who sold nuclear submarine secrets to the Chinese.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Harold Paul Cole and Britain. Harold Cole was the deputy commander of Scotland Yard during the end of World War II and is considered one of the worst traitors of the war. He was responsible for divulging information to the Gestapo about the French resistance escape lines, which he had helped create. Oh, that motherfucker. Mm-hmm. That would be like right now in Ukraine, the corridors allowing people to escape, like giving Russia all the details so they could take out civilians. That's so fucked up. He also divulged information about the French resistance leaders to the Axis, resulting in the death of at least 150 people. He was shot dead after capture by French police in 1946. Like, what had to happen in your life that's what you're doing? Like, what?
I know, fuck? Especially like involving the Nazis. And back in the day, like this is one of those things where I believe in due process and all that stuff. But if you are fighting the fucking Nazis and you find out somebody's a traitor and 150 of your troops get killed, I have less of a problem with putting a bullet in the back of somebody's brain in a war situation.
Here's one I've never heard of. Brutus and Caesar, the tyrannical rule. I'm interested to hear this one. The tyrannical rule of Roman Emperor Julius Caesar came to a very sticky end when his own nephew, Marcus Brutus, took part in the murder plot against him. Brutus joined the Roman Senate during a time when the revolt against Caesar was reaching its peak. Despite remonstrations from his wife, Brutus accompanied the group of disgruntled senators who savagely attacked Caesar. See, we think things are rough now. But at least Marjorie Taylor Greene's not shanking anybody directly.
Well, her and Boebert got into it the other day. They had to be separated.
Am I right?
Exactly right. Sexist Kate back at
women,
it again.
Am I right? This is why we shouldn't have women.
They must have been synced up.
They probably synced up. They probably on their periods. At
Goddamn
time.
bears all over the Capitol building.
Damn bears coming to attack. There's probably only one tampon left in the bathroom.
By the way, how do you feel about these TikToks that are taken away of the stigma around menstruation?
What do you mean? I'm sorry. Of course you're on period TikTok and I'm not. Of course.
Period Tuesday. So this woman on TikTok, she's gorgeous and she is she's an entrepreneur and she created this business and it's designed to take away the stigma of periods. So whenever she's on her period, she tries on, because you know how like trying on bathing suits from Shein or whatever, like those places, like those always go viral, of course, because people have their titties out and stuff. Well, she does those same type of try-ons, but she just lets the tampon string fucking dangle. It taught her how to dangle, and it just dangles there, and she has no qualms about it. And honest to God, I follow her on TikTok. And since I've fallen, I'm so much less grossed out by anything around menstruation than I was before. Her campaign of taking away the stigma worked for me. It worked.
I mean, again, most of us, half the population, are doing it once a month, and it's still something we're ashamed about. Like, again, this circles back. I won't get into it, but women, man, we have it rough. I'm telling you, people don't get it. Anyway. Caesar didn't see it coming. His iconic line, "Et tu, Brutus," escaped his lips just before his demise. The whole sort of betrayal was also the subject of a little Shakespearean play you may have heard of.
Do you know what it's called?
Living Fast and Furious. Am I right?
What is it really called? Do you know?
No.
You don't know what the Shakespeare play is called?
About Brutus and Caesar? No.
No, it's called Julius Caesar.
Oh, silly me. I didn't pay attention. And
somebody doesn't watch enough Jeopardy.
Not me. The Rosenbergs and the USA. The Rosenbergs were a married couple with communist sympathies who sold atomic secrets to the Soviets during the height of the Cold War. Julius Rosenberg helped exchange covert information and also recruited other spies for the Soviet Union. He, alongside his wife Ethel. See, nobody would suspect an Ethel.
Oh, I disagree. I would totally
thinks Ethel's a bad bitch. Whose level of people say her level of involvement is contentious. I say as an Ethel, she didn't do it, but you say she did. They were arrested in 1950 after a controversial trial. Both were executed for conspiring to sell atomic secrets to Russia on June 19th, 1953. Holy shit.
I gotta say, those betrayals seem kind of boring now that we've talked about Barstool betrayals. Julius Caesar, more like Julius Schmeezer. Let's move on to round number 2, which is something totally different. What is that, Kate?
All right, round number 2. We're heading out to basic training. If you've observed Army recruits on their first day at basic training in recent years, you may have noticed something a little different. It's not quite as much screaming. It's been almost 2 years since the Army announced it was changing the way infantry recruits were greeted at basic training in 2020, moving away from an aggressive and incoherent screaming shark attack on trainees that mostly worked to establish drill sergeants' dominance. The shark attack was useful during a time in Army history when the service depended on draftees. Wide-eyed drill sergeants used intimidation and fear to weed out the weak of heart, according to Command Sergeant Major Robert Fortenberry. Major General Patrick Donahoe, commander of Maneuver Center of Excellence at Fort Benning, told Task and Purpose that the new event, the first 100 yards, helps instill critical lessons for trainees on day 1. Trust your NCOs. And so they're saying, like, before, when people were getting drafted, and you would have any Joe Schmo off the street who maybe didn't want to be there, who didn't whatever. They're saying it helped weed the weak out, but weren't they still stuck there anyway? Like,
yeah, I guess like failure to comply, like you can get somebody out, like a failure to adjust, failure to comply, you can get somebody out pretty quickly on those types of things. When I was first reading this article, I thought this is bullshit because I feel like that there is an element that it's important to be able to be yelled at, to be able to deal with very intense situations, know how to adapt in those, and know how to keep your mind calm when things are going fucking chaotic around you. I really believe in some of the tendencies to do that. I don't know if you only get that by yelling at somebody straight in the face about how they're fucking standing and things like that at the initial stages of boot camp. But I feel like if we remove all intense screaming, all intense intimidation, this is still, because you can't forget, this is a very violent job. Inherently, the mission of the Marine Corps and the mission of the Army is
infantry,
inherently violent.
Specifically infantry. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, this is a violent job. You can't be scared of conflict. You can't be scared of having somebody scream at you because it's going to happen. Like that, it's absolutely going to happen. However, Pat Donahoe is somebody that I respect. Everything that I've seen him write, everything that I've seen him be involved in, for the most part, I've agreed on. So his comments about it that we're about to get into kind of changed my opinion on it a little bit.
Yeah, the first order is that an NCO will give an infantry officer in the U.S. Army. The first thing they're going to say now is "follow me," Donahoe said. As they get off the bus, it's not an adversarial sergeant on trainee. It's the sergeant as the NCO at the center of the team, leading by example. That's a pretty powerful touchstone to the centrality of the NCO in our Army. It should start day 1.
And see, this is where the difference here is the way that the Marine Corps has it designed versus the Army has it designed in the last 2 years. The Army starts out with that NCO kind of, I don't want to say father figure, but like father and mother figure, but you definitely have that strong leader there that you can talk to, that can guide you and things like that. The Marine Corps does it the other way, where they definitely do shark attacks, and you don't earn the NCO, staff NCO of the drill instructor until you earn the title of Marine. And once you finish the crucible, you stop calling the drill instructors sir or ma'am. You start calling them by their actual rank, and sergeant, staff sergeant, gunnery sergeant, things like that. And that's when the NCO relationship is starting to form, once you've earned the title. And I don't know which one is better, because I've only done one and I really like the way that went, but I could see how both sides could work. Maybe. Yeah.
And it's not just for infantry recruits. The Army also moved armor recruits away from the shark attack and into an exercise called the Thunder Run, which requires trainees to run a set of equipment down a 1/4-mile track, handing it off to teammates along the way and arranging the equipment at the end, the same as it was in the beginning. So instead, I guess
that's a good old fashioned relay race. That's all that is.
It's a relay race. They're doing a fun run.
And they also have eggs on spoons.
Eggs on spoons. Yeah, they're in burlap sacks, I think, on turf lawn. It's the Brady
take your
bunch.
Fucking alpha tie and you tie your other buddy's leg to it, and you guys do a 3-legged race.
Yeah, it's a good time. Nothing's really changed other than we're not screaming in their faces, said the command sergeant major. And for any of the back in my day crowd who feels the new generation of soldiers couldn't possibly be as tough as they were because they're not being chaotically...
That's where it hit me, because I was saying back in my day in my brain.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure I can already picture how it's, I bet China loves this. I bet Russia's loving this. It's like,
woke ass army strikes again.
Yeah, a woke ass army. For the folks who were like, that's weak, first off, they haven't seen it, Donahoe said. They're just reacting to something they've heard. And I welcome any of those guys to come back, get on a bus, and go through the first 100 yards of Thunder Run and see just how weak or easy it is.
We should take them up on it.
I do think it is important. Like, yeah, they've been the scream as soon as you get there has been a military thing forever. But sometimes it's good to take a step back and be like, well, why are we doing this again? Yeah. And does it make a difference? Like, is it working? Like, I feel like once I figured boot camp out, which is pretty quickly, like, all right, they're screaming at you, they're whatever. Like, all right, okay, I could have completed this task without that just as well.
But that does take a while. I don't know, because at first you're like, that person, this person, I legitimately thought drill instructor staff Sergeant Wiley was going to kill me. Like, I thought his goal at the end of the day was to see me dead. And everything kind of switches for you at boot camp. Well, it did for me whenever we were marching and you go back and forth. And then you see the drill instructors telling you, get back. You're moving too slow. You're not doing it correctly. And you look over to the chow hall and you see that the other platoon is still like halfway in the door, halfway out. So they don't have room for you to be in the chute. That's the reason why you're going back and forth, not because you're doing anything incorrectly, but in your head at the time, you're looking at your buddy like, oh, God damn, how could you not do it by the left flank? Like, what the hell's going on here?
That is so funny because that's exactly
like, oh my God, your fucking boot blouse is done. Now we're not going to be able to eat chow. We got less time now. The guy's going to have like 15 seconds to eat.
I just say, I have no doubt that you could have just as good at without that. Like, I don't think it's really going to make that much of a difference, to be honest with you. And I'm sure there's still going to be plenty of screaming and hazing along the way.
Oh yeah, they're just going to tell them
that's never going to stop. Forget about it. Well, they'll be fine. Yeah. Anyways.
All right, let's move on to round number 3, which today is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Manscaped. If you haven't tried Manscaped yet, you need to, because they have something that just called the Ultra Smooth Package. This specialized groin shaving kit is here to help you buff, protect, and shave those most sensitive areas. It's time to crop that bush of yours and get it right to the roots, my friends. We're going all the way down to the old skinnamarink dinky dink. The package includes your crop exfoliator.
Right between the spots you stink.
That's exactly right. And stinky. The musk of a sweaty cock is just terrible.
I don't like where you're going.
You don't have to read. So they have the crop exfoliator, which is a general scrub for the area. They have a crop gel, which is a clear lubricating shave gel. They have the crop shaver. It's a shaver made specifically for the groin. It's actually, it like grabs your nuts and it's shaped like a squirrel's mouth. So it'll get all the hair off. It's fantastic. And it comes with a travel case in case you have to travel and you're like, you know what? I'm going to Seattle. I need my ball shaved. You can use
son of a bitch.
Sorry, kid. Go get 20% off with free shipping with the promo code 0 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with the free shipping with the code 0 at manscaped.com. Smooth out the fellas with a relaunched ultra smooth package from the fellas at Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Let's move on to round number 3.
Squirrel mouth. Get out of here. I will say, fellas, it helps your odds exponentially.
Oh, yeah.
Having stinky balls and stuff, I guess.
No, and it makes you look bigger. Like if you're all shaved up, you look way bigger. Why would you not want that?
At least neatened up a little. At least a little.
You don't want your dick looking like Homer Simpson fading back into the bushes.
Right. No, absolutely not. Anyways, not a good time to be a very wealthy Russian in the gas sector, my friends, the oil industry. A series of strange deaths in the gas sector has spread to the oil industry. Last week, 2 more Russian oligarchs were found dead alongside their families within 48 hours of each other in alleged murder-suicides. Ain't none of us believe in that.
Right.
They're the latest of a series of high-profile Russians to die in mysterious circumstances in recent months. It's not the first time that there have been reports about Russian officials dying suspiciously, and Russian President Vladimir Putin has long been known to take extreme measures to silence his opponents. In 2017, USA Today published an investigative report detailing at least 38 oligarchs who died or went missing over a 3-year span. In the early months of 2022, at least 6 prominent members of Russia's upper class have been found dead under strange conditions. If I'm one of them, I saw this story will probably be covered in here, but I saw one of those Russian oligarchs, his wife, and their like 17-year-old daughter were
13.
found dead in their mansion in the UK. If I'm these people and I have the money, I'm taking my family into fucking hiding for as long as it motherfucking takes.
But a lot of them don't have the money now because of the sanctions. Like they can't. Like there was where they're trying to get their boats out of different places and they can't get anywhere. And they are targeting the ones who they feel are starting to turn against Putin, because that's how they feel it'll really change. If you can, because everything, the only reason why Russia can remotely keep the same semblance in the world community is because of gas. And with the EU saying that we're going to have a total embargo on all Russian gas, the oligarchs aren't going to be happy about that, because they're going to go from being insanely rich to insanely not. And nobody wants to do that either.
Yeah, this is crazy.
But this story, the last one that came out, there's a guy named Alexander Sabatin, and he's a former top manager with the Lukoil oil company, and he died as well recently. But this time, he might have died after an anti-hangover session with a shaman, because they put poisonous toad venom into one of his drinks that he took, and now he's dead.
It's absolutely crazy. The shamans incised skin and instilled toad venom, and after vomiting, the patient allegedly got better. Even shamans called spirits sacrificed animals and bathed the lost in cock's blood. What? What? That's what an anti-hangover session is in Russia? Like, what the fuck is that? I've never... So in this case,
this is from the BBC. I was taken aback that they said cock's blood. How do you not go chicken there? Like, you got to go chicken. Like, you can't just say cock's blood.
Yeah. So this Sabotin guy, the guy who was killed, he regularly used these shamans for his hangovers, which is maybe you have a problem, my friend. The last session failed. Instead of treating the hangover, he felt ill. His heart ached. The couple decided not to call an ambulance, but gave him Corvatol. The oil man was put to sleep in the basement where he died. The shaman spouses told police they were just friends with the deceased. Yeah, he's the brother of the VP of oil supply and sales at Lukoil. Just crazy. I'm expecting to see a lot more of those stories. I don't even care then. If I'm an oligarch in the UK, like that family was like, I'll go live in the gutter somewhere. Like I am getting the fuck off the radar. I am taking what little scraps I have. I'm going to the fucking pawn shop and I'm getting my family.
They find them all over the place, Kate. Like, it's crazy when I just read a report of like 8 of them. Most of them aren't in Russia. There's only like 2 of them that were actually assassinated in Moscow. Like, there was one that was in Thailand that he was like in the jungle, and they snuck in the middle of the night and did like the old school fucking Achilles slash, where they sliced his Achilles while he was asleep and like passed out on vodka and shit. And then whenever he got up, they killed him. Like, it's insanity of the different levels. Like, there was another one that was killed in Chile. There was another one that was killed in Iceland. Like, they're all over the place, and they're sending out these, it has to be like assassins like this. There's going to be shows about this on Hulu that come from these plots, because they're so insane, but it's actually happening. Like, it's really going on.
Yeah. And how much, like, I feel though that, like, sure, the super wealthy have some influence on Putin, but at this point, I feel like he is so unhinged. He just does not give a fuck what anyone tells him. So I almost feel like all these sanctions, like, whatever, keep them coming, keep putting pressure on the wealthy and these guys. But like, no matter how many of them turn, no matter how many of them I don't think he gives a fuck. I think he is well past that point of return. Like, I think.
And it could be at one of those spots where it's like when a dog gets overly agitated, where they can be trained as much as you want. You agitate them eventually to the point where they're just going to snap. Like, it feels like Putin is getting backed into this corner by the international community based on his own actions, of course, like things
as he should be, but you're right.
He absolutely should be. But that doesn't change his perspective. His perspective is that he's been wronged, Russia's been wronged, and all these different things. So the international community is like going in, and you worry about this huge fucking chump that he's going to try to take back because he feels like he's backed into a corner, which I could definitely see happening. I'd be terrified if I was an oligarch, because even if he goes away, people are going to remember that you were a Putin loyalist. And if he stays in power, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, it's crazy. Interested to see how that keeps panning out, probably with more rich people dying. So probably
so. Yeah. All right, let's move on to round number 4. I wanted to talk about this, but kind of briefly, because it is legitimately insane.
Yes,
and like
it's crazy.
The letter that President Trump put out after this interview, it's wild. Like that's somebody who used to be the president of the United States. It's legitimately crazy.
And could be again.
So 60 Minutes had this big expose with Esper, and Cons is in France. But I was actually kind of surprised that West Point allowed him to sit for this interview at West Point. Like you would think that, it's going to be contentious. What some of the subject matter is. You would think that West Point would want to stay away from that. Like their PAs would be like, you can't do that interview here. Like this is obviously political. And what if Trump gets elected again in 2024? Like, what do you do then? Like he's the commander in chief again. It's a very precarious situation that I think that West Point put themselves in, that is sort of flying under the radar because Esper is a graduate from there. So people are like, oh, he's a graduate. He's here for this. Let's do it anyways. Still bizarre. Let's go in through some of the actual details of what's going to be in his book. And if you remember back to some of those things that we talked about, Kate, Cons, and I were not kind to Mark Esper while he was the Secretary of Defense, because we felt like he fucked up a lot of stuff, from coronavirus response, how they got people off different ships, the firing of different captains of Navy ships whenever they probably shouldn't have been for doing the right thing and being honest with their people. We had a lot of issues with Mark Esper, but he also wrote this book. So we're going to give you some of the information behind it.
Yes, we are. And by the way, my reasoning behind why I think West Point let him do the interview there is that they were hoping for B-roll of the campus, and it's gorgeous in the spring.
True. Good point.
I think they were hoping for some positive PR. People being like, I don't know about that, but did you see the azalea bushes though, in that B-roll that they flashed?
You're exactly right.
That's my theory. Anyway, thank you. Former Defense Secretary Mark Esper said former President Donald Trump suggested launching missiles into Mexico to destroy the drug labs, the New York Times reported Friday. Esper noted that
let's break these down one by one.
Okay.
On its face, if you know, I
feel like the Brittany Broski that
right, like it to me, like you for sure this is where a cartel is hanging out, and knowing what cartels do, because cartels, I mean, my God, man, like some of the things that they are known to have done, like beheading different people, putting their heads on spikes around cities.
Oh,
and shit
those
like that.
That like bus of like 200 teachers they murdered. Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Awful. So when you hear it and you're like, oh, you could take them all out with a quick little artillery strike, you're like, But then there's that whole international law thing that comes into play too. Which
war with Mexico
is very troubling.
This is difficult. Esper noted the alleged proposal in his upcoming memoir, A Sacred Oath, detailing his time as the last Senate-confirmed defense secretary for the Trump administration. According to the Times, Esper said Trump, frustrated by the drug trade at the southern border, proposed at least twice that the U.S. military could shoot missiles into Mexico to destroy the drug labs and wipe out cartels. They don't have control of their own country, Esper recalled the former president saying. After Esper objected to the proposal, Trump maintained that we could just shoot some Patriot missiles and take out the labs quietly. Buddy, people are going to
And I don't mind this because Patriot missiles are usually missiles that are designed to take out other missiles that are already in the air. They're like an anti-missile type of weapon. But I don't blame President Trump here either, because if you ask people what a missile they can name is, I feel like Patriot missile is the number one overall answer.
It's the only one I know too.
Yeah.
He said no one would know it was us. I feel like
that was not true.
Might know it was us.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
maybe if they take it out, like when somebody steals a truck and then they take off the serial number, they like scrape it away with a file. Maybe that's what they could do. Maybe the Patriot missile just has like property of the United States of America on the bottom. If you file that off, before it'd be a lot harder to prove that it was
I would
us.
put the flag of like Belize on it or something. A couple bumper stickers.
What if they actually did it and the president of Mexico calls up and they're like, what happened? We have no idea. Like,
what do you mean what happened?
Don't you guys have the best intelligence agencies in the world? Yeah, but we didn't pick up anything going just like 15 miles over our border. We had no idea. We don't know. Nothing popped up. Let me check my messages. Oh yeah, nothing here.
Entire U.S. was getting our hair done that day.
Exactly.
We were all in foils. We had no clue. Esper added in the book that he would have thought the former president was joking if he hadn't talked to the former president face to face. This is one of those things that you're like, oh, this is going to make Trump look bad. No, it's not. So many people are going to be like, well, it seems like a pretty sick idea.
It's like blowing up the fucking hurricanes with nuclear weapons.
Exactly. Like, it sounds crazy at first, but it also sounds fucking cool. Earlier this year, Esper filed a suit. It does. Esper filed a suit against the Defense Department after the agency he once led wanted to block info from the manuscript. Esper's lawyer told The Times in February that the book will be published with minimal redactions. The Times also reported that his book was reviewed by dozens of four-star generals and some cabinet members ahead of the release on May 10th.
I would love to be that. Like if you have let's be honest, this is a gossipy book. Like this is a gossipy book about Esper's experiences with President Trump while they're in. Trump clearly hates Esper now. Esper clearly hates Trump now. So they're going to go back and forth in the media about it all the time. However, being on the list of you get to have all this tea before anybody else, buddy, I'd be sipping my ass off. That would be the best part about being a retired four-star general. You get all the tea.
Do you think a lot of these guys do these jobs simply because this is going to suck doing this job for a couple of years, but I'll get a pretty lucrative book deal out of it? Like, I feel like that's
absolutely you do. I mean, yeah. Jen Psaki, or whatever the fuck her name is, that just left as press secretary. You do that being press secretary for the president of the United States. I don't care if you're doing it for fucking JFK, if you're doing it for Abraham Lincoln. Well, maybe not the two guys that got assassinated. I shouldn't use those as an example. You're doing it for a beloved president, which there isn't very many, I guess, that we have in American history that everybody essentially loves. So you like, let's say you're going for one of those people that everybody likes. Still being the press secretary and having to answer for everything that administration does would be awful. Like that's your day-to-day job, is answering the snarky questions from journalists on both sides of the aisle, trying to get a gotcha answer. And that's all you do for essentially a year. That job would suck. However, when you leave that job, you're walking into a job at CNN, Fox News, MSNBC that you're going to be making $1 million a year because you had that job. So it's kind of worth it in that regard.
Absolutely. So yeah, who knows?
But I wanted to get down to, because President Trump saw the interview and he gave some responses. They actually put it out on his official letterhead. Do you want to read President Trump's responses, or do you want to read the questions, Kate?
Sure. I will read the questions. During a June 1, 2020 meeting at the White House, the cabinet was debating what to do about protests and civil unrest. Mark Esper says President Trump wanted to shoot some of the protesters in the legs. A lot of foul language was used, and accused President Trump of calling the cabinet members fucking losers.
This is a complete lie, and 10 witnesses can back it up. Mark Esper was weak and totally ineffective, and because of it, I had to run the military. I took out ISIS, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, rebuilt the military
himself, by the way. People don't realize he went over with his own gun and did that. Right.
Rebuilt the military with $2.5 trillion, created Space Force, and so much more. Mark Esper was a stiff who was desperate not to lose his job. He would do anything I wanted. That's why I called him Jesper. And he was a lightweight and a figurehead. And I realized it very early on. He was wrecked me by some very weak rhinos. And that's what he turned out to be.
And what's a rhino for those?
Republican in name only.
Okay. President Trump wanted to send 10,000 active duty troops into Washington, D.C. after St. John's Church was set on fire.
Wrong. I wanted to send at least 10,000 troops for January 6th because I knew how many people were coming to Washington that day to protest the corrupt presidential election of 2020. Nancy Pelosi and the D.C. mayor turned me down. 60 Minutes should ask them why they chose not to have proper security, which would have totally changed that day and allowed us to have a proper debate on the evidence of massive election fraud, which the fake news media still refuses to cover whatsoever.
Yeah, he goes on. Later in a meeting at the White House, Trump contended that his Secretary of Defense had taken away his authority on the Insurrection Act and didn't believe he could invoke it anymore.
This is fake news. The fact is, I didn't need to invoke the act and never did.
Esper says Mark Meadows called him to relieve him of his post. and said Esper was not sufficiently loyal and the president was not happy with you.
I fired Esper because he was a rhino and capable of leading, and I had to run the military myself.
On a couple of occasions, Trump suggested to Esper they attack the drug cartels with missiles.
No comment.
I mean, again, I feel like
my favorite part is all that other shit. He's like, did you threaten to do international war crimes that would have led you going to The Hague? No comment. No.
I feel like though, like this all sounds insane, but all this is very positive PR for Trump. Like if you're his follower and you already like him, this is like a home run. Like, oh yeah, keep tossing these balls at me because this is my crowd is gonna fucking love this. Like whatever. Like I don't know, but
it's the same crowd that'll be like, oh, just turn Afghanistan into a parking lot. Like, no, these are human beings.
But yeah, so interesting to see how what other like little bits of tea are going to come out. A lot of gossip, a lot of tea, a lot of scuttlebutt going on these days. There is,
and I love it so much. And sometimes you got to get out there and get away from it all, right, Kate? You can't just be living in your internet bubble forever. Sometimes you got to get away from it and head out to the trails with our good friends at Rocky Boots, because Rocky Boots builds boots for the men and women that serve and protect this country. They've designed and built boots for each one of the individual U.S. branches. They have all kinds of different boots. Cardi likes wearing my boots down by the pool whenever I put Cardi's ass to work yesterday on Mother's Day, because Annalise had said that the only thing that she really wanted was like a super deep clean of the pool area to be done. So like pressure washing all the different furniture out there, getting the floats all ready for the new year, getting rid of the old floats that we have that are like moldy from last year and things like that. Cardi was like, I'm nervous about my feet with the pressure washer. I was like, don't be. I got something for you. Throw on these yellow Rocky boots and you're going to be fine. That's exactly what we did. And we got the job done. You can get the job done too by going to rockyboots.com, into the promo code ZBT at checkout for 25% off of your next pair of boots. So one of the other things that our own version of Lady Whistledown was talking about, that's Deke Zucker, was that Barstool has a bunch of employees that possibly have burner accounts on Reddit and on Twitter. And he was talking about how different people, production side and the IT sections at Barstool, have access to our laptops. And so technically they can go in and see everything that you've looked at. And like Kate and I were talking about it before, since I've worked at Barstool, the laptop that I've gotten from Barstool is the only laptop I use. I use my work computer here, and then I use my laptops for all my other things. No matter what I'm doing, I use my work laptop forever because I'm not concerned about what people see or anything like that. But whenever you really start to get in the nuts and bolts that your job can see everything, like you can if you work in a government job too, it gets a little bit scary, right? Like whenever they first said,
a good remind. I said when I saw that somebody who works here sent a lot of information from our work computers to this guy who's like our Lady Whistledown. It's like, oh my God, they can see everything we're doing and somebody is keeping notes of it. It's like, normally you're like, yeah, but everybody here is good. Nobody's going to be doing that kind of shit. And it's like, no. There's people doing weird shit, man. And they can see everything you're doing. Like I asked you guys, I was like, wait, is that true? Is that like a real thing?
Yeah, because anyway. I recently remembered it because I got a new laptop from work, and so did you. Yeah. And I actually joked with All Business Pete, who's our main tech guy. And I was like, hey, Pete, are you guys going to be able to watch what porn I see? And he was like, yeah, but we don't care.
Like, honestly, yeah.
I mean, you could figure out anything whenever you're working on it. Because like when Pete told me that they could see into it, like, I don't know. But going back and actually doing it is two totally different things. Well, I asked Kate before we started, if somebody from IT could go in and find the different things that you would not, like 4 categories of what you wouldn't want IT to see besides porn, because I think that's everybody's number one. Nobody wants people to see what they do whenever they're horny. That's gross. That's everybody's worst nightmare. Kate, what's your first one?
For the record, I've never looked at porn on my work laptop, but I have a question. I have a question. Say in some other world, you do a little glancing on your phone at it.
Yeah.
And then you hook your phone up through a wire to your computer to charge it. Does all that porn go into your work computer?
Are you looking at it through Chrome on Google?
I don't know. Some might say yes.
Yes.
No,
because
there's
no getting around it. Everything you do on the internet can be traced. Everything.
Oh my God. What if you're deleting your browser history?
No, browser history doesn't even work. Like that's how, I mean, we talked about it with, I don't know if it was on this show, but with Josh Duggar, whenever they cleaned out everything, there's always a way to go in and get it. Always.
Good, because fuck that guy forever. Right. But okay, here's a couple things I wouldn't want people to know that I have used my work laptop.
Don't give them all in a row. Let's go one each because there might be some crossover and that would stink.
Since becoming a mother, there's a million health things that come with that. And I not me, but I heard from friends of friends who've had kids that hemorrhoids, buddy, that your asshole just flips inside out like a hoop, like all day long. Those little nodes in your butthole are like just
butthole nodes is just such a foul
in your anus. It's
fucking
terrible.
The nose inside your anus is fucking.
If I had that problem, I'd be asking WebMD and Google a lot of very detailed questions about my asshole.
Google, my nodes.
Right.
Mama's got some nodes issues.
Also about somebody else's, about breastfeeding, about stuff like that. Like I've been doing all that on my work laptop. Like
why
watching
do my nipples look like the salt flats in Arizona?
Like 2 chocolate lids of a Haagen-Dazs, man. I'm telling you, this thing has been rough. But I've been looking up extremely detailed health questions about my vagina, my asshole, and my nipples. So I've been doing all that on my work computer. Wouldn't like people to see exactly what.
Yeah, that's why mine is fucking medical too. Like like
diarrhea,
search how to get rid of diarrhea, banana-induced pink eye, all types of different things. I mean, you just get some gross shit that happens, like how to. Yeah. I used how to lance my eye if one of the glands is closed, and like doing that and like following a step-by-step tutorial on YouTube on how to do it. I wouldn't want people to see that, but I will tell them about it right now.
Right.
My next one, I am embarrassed to admit this one, looking up comments about yourself. I feel like like searching your name on the internet, if people found out you're doing that, it's just so, even though I think it's natural and everybody does it, like you Google search.
You want to know how other people see you.
Exactly right.
And it's how I see myself, an accurate representation of what other people are seeing. I don't know. And if you have the ability to do that, like, you're going to fucking do it.
And I feel like nobody would be embarrassed to know, like if finding your computer and being like, search Kate Barstool, like on Twitter and see what people are saying. But the individual terms that you would add after Kate Barstool. So like Kate Barstool gross, Kate Barstool ugly, something like that.
What do you do? What?
No, not you. I'm not searching for Kate ugly. I'm saying for me, like Chaps disgusting, Chaps piece of shit, Chaps garbage, like those types of things. Like, man,
anybody
this
saying that?
Pathetic as shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't want people seeing that for sure. Kind of not in that same vein, but not so much stalking yourself online. I wouldn't want anyone to see the stalking rabbit holes that I go down, because you and Cons know, if we bring up the story of some like weird Navy SEAL being weird, buddy, by the next episode before the show, I'll be able to tell you who they're dating, what they did yesterday, what they like.
This is a very particular skill that I think women have much more than men.
Buddy, I can find out fucking anything that you like. I think sometimes that's why my blogs take so long, because I'll start going down rabbit holes and getting all the details, all the spider web of like whatever.
That's why it takes your blog so long.
And I can spiral, but I wouldn't want people to see my like how insane I am. My process. I wouldn't want people to see how I spiral. That I'm looking up like, do I check on what an old flame is doing? Blah blah blah. Like, and actually, oddly enough, no. But I could
have that one on mine. Looking up exes, nobody would want to see that now. I don't do it. I've been married fucking almost 13 years. I definitely don't do it now. But I think how pathetic you look right after a breakup with the amount of time. Like if like I got divorced in 2008. If you would look at what my internet history, what I was searching for in 2008, I would feel like the most pathetic human to ever walk the earth. Be like, good God, dude, have some fucking pride, have some self-respect.
Yep. And while we're on that topic, I was telling Chaps, like neither of us have, that I know of, have burner accounts for Reddit. But that I used to have an account that I made specifically when I was going through my divorce, when I was so sad and so depressed. And I made a burner account, like this anonymous account, where I would go into the divorce Reddits and I would be like, help, does it ever get better? Everything's terrible.
Can we read some of the actual posts? Because you found them.
And you said, can you find it? I found an email address I haven't used for over 4 years now. And just about 4 years. And I found it and I got back into the password like right as the show started.
Because this was a fun thing that we did. You also did something similar to this, not in the same vein, but close, where you had that Twitter account that was like positive quotes.
Hard for motivation. It's still there. Every now and then it's my Twitter burner, but I only tweet positive stuff with it. It's like just a friendly account. But this my friendly burner, Casper the friendly burner.
Friendly motivational quotes. Yeah. I don't like people to know about. If I need to see it, I just go check it out.
I also have a fake Instagram account for a fake softball league that I made up. That's fun. Every now and then I'll post in. I'll be like, fun game tonight. I'll be like, fun game tonight.
Fake softball league for giggles.
Yes. It has a good amount of followers. I know.
How many? How many times?
It's in Terre Haute. This is like the softball team in Terre Haute. It's like, we're going to McTwisties for karaoke tonight after the game. Come on.
Wait, what? You still do this? This is something you do to this day? Just casual goofing with a fake fucking softball team from Terre Haute?
Hear me out. I made it for a joke in a blog once. And then so people who read the blog started following it as a joke. And so every now and then I'll update it as a joke. And so it's like everyone's in on the joke.
Can you send me it? I need to look at it right now.
I haven't updated it in a while and my phone is dead. But I will send it to you. Yeah, it's a fake phone.
It's fucking 11:45.
Dude. I forgot about that. I have a fake softball team burner account.
As one does. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, let's get back to your pathetic Reddit post about your divorce.
Pathetic Reddit. My handle was Lost MC. Like Lost Marine Corps. I was divorcing another Marine. I only have 6 posts and they're all about divorce and they all sound almost exactly the same.
Let's hear it.
They are so sad and depressing, dude. They're so sad. This was in our divorce. This is so sad.
You didn't even go for like a sub divorce page. You went for the big daddy. You went straight for our divorce.
I went straight to our divorce. My most commented post only ever got 11 comments. I never got upvotes. Damn. Anyway, this is me being so genuine as Lost MC 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I just cannot seem to get my shit together and pick up the pieces. I am 31. Degree from a good school, had a career. Now all my things are in a storage facility. I live in my aunt's basement because I can't seem to figure out what to do with myself now. I work small, low-wage jobs. My confidence is gone. I feel sorry for myself. I think and worry about him all the time. I go to Al-Anon meetings and it doesn't help. When he was good, there was no one better. I feel like I left him in the gutter. He had issues at the time. And so I didn't know there's like an AA and then there's like an AA for people who love alcoholics. And I was going to meetings every week in Delco for all these other people. Anyway, it was quite the time in my life, but like all my
No, keep going.
A nightmare. I'm backsliding. I love and miss him so much it kills me. I feel like I failed him.
All right, let's move on to save rounds and alibis. Nick, we'll start with you.
Oh man.
This is me lurking on our divorce. This is only 4 years ago. This is me lurking on our divorce.
But it's got to be up 4 years. Like I'd say at least 4.5.
It's got to be, for the love of God. Life couldn't have moved this quick. I can't believe it. But hey, that gives hope to everybody if you're going through it.
Yeah.
Things change and get better.
Mm-hmm. They
Look
do.
at me now. But it just made me laugh, like reading these, being like, oh my God, you were so serious. You were so sad. Anyway.
All right. The last one that I had, your bank account when you're broke, and not just like the bottom line, but like you're broke and all the things that you've spent money on, like an itemized list, would be so terrible because people are like, look how fucking irresponsible this guy is. Why is he buying so much this, that? Like when I was single, like a single father, and I didn't have a lot of money, I bet if people went through, they'd be like, this motherfucker doesn't deserve to have a kid. Why is he eating Taco Bell so much?
I feel that way if people could see my grocery bill, if people could see what my groceries are, they'd be like, she shouldn't have kids. Who's this person buying 15 cans of beets? Who is this person eating Chef Boyardee?
I'm surprised you haven't ventured over to Costco yet and got Costco beets. Like, just get them in bulk.
I know I should. I found this like these like it's like mac and cheese, but the sauce has vegetables hidden in it. It's like healthy sauces for the kid. So last night I'm like, all right, I'll make them one of these. 20 minutes rice has to cook. What? 20 minutes? What am I fucking Emerald Lagasse?
Yeah.
20 minutes? Get the fuck out of here. I didn't read that part on the box. I was like, okay, add the butter, add the water.
20 minutes is a long time for a box meal. Like,
when you have a baby that's
I think
hungry,
under 10 is where you got to go.
But I felt like I was really cooking, so I'm working on it. Anyways, yeah, that's for sure. Finances. What was the other thing? I had like one more thing that I wouldn't have want people to see. No, stocking holes, finances. No, that's about it for me.
No, I think you covered it pretty well with that whole Reddit burner account.
Thanks for making me do that.
Yeah, that was weird. I can't believe you actually agreed to do it. I had no, I didn't think you were going to. I thought you were going to tell me to go fuck
Neither
myself.
did I.
And then here you are doing
it.
it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I thought there's absolutely no shot Kate does this. And then you're reading it, and I was like, here we go. I thought you were going to say no. I thought you were going to tell me to go fuck myself. I'm glad you gave that super personal information that probably should have remained private. Nick, we'll start with you for save rounds and alibis.
All right, for save rounds, I guess for me, I think the one thing that I would want people to see is like on eBay, the stuff I look at on eBay specifically, because that's where you just find the random of the random shit. And I got some like just, I don't know, weird interests to say.
You do. You're a weird interest guy.
I'm
said with love.
Yeah, I have a lot of quirky stuff that I just find very interesting.
But you're lucky though, Nick, because like, you look so normal. Like you look like you're a very not middle America, like a very corporate kind of guy. You put together well, you dress well, you're a handsome dude. No one would ever think that you're obsessed with wrestling figurines.
Yeah, and it's not just like wrestling stuff. It goes even like I have like a slew of things that like you guys call me an onion sometimes. Like
if you told me that your entire basement was an enormous train set, I'd be like, yeah.
Or sure. That guy that you sent me on TikTok that's trying to have an eel basement.
Right. Yeah. If you were raising eels in your basement, I'd be like, okay, yeah. Well, he's got interests. He's got.
By the way, some updates on that guy, Kate. I don't know if you saw or not, but the guy that his normal eel dealer that he has.
Yeah.
They're fresh out of eels. He's got no eels. He's got that whole basement set up, and only things in there is koi.
If you guys aren't getting into the eel business right now, there's one thing I can tell you to invest in right now, it is eels.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not investing in eels, you're not investing in yourself. Certainly do. It's a slippery slope to not do so.
It would be shocking. Electric as shit. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kate, what do you got?
Boy, nothing since you just embarrassed the shit out of me.
Me? No.
You said find your old Reddit. It'll be hilarious. And then I said it's very sad. It's not funny. And you're like, no, it'll be funny. I did it and it wasn't funny. It was sad.
No, it was good. It was good content. Look, I feel like what
the fuck?
I like it when we can help other people that we work with. This takes some of the heat off. They're like, nobody's gonna be talking about Marty and Rhea tomorrow. They're gonna be like, did you hear about Kate's fucking burner account that she had? Sad.
True. Kate's divorce burner.
Selfless again.
True. Thank you, chaps.
You're welcome.
Other than that, I don't think I have anything. Nope, that's it for me. Again, just I'm still getting messages and hearing from people reaching out. Keep the messages coming. I have so much love for you. Thank you to everybody who listened last week. I'm still like blown away by that. So that's it for me.
I agree. I don't really have anything. Shout out to Cons. I hope he's having a good time on his honeymoon over in France with his lovely wife. They seem to be having a great time going up and down to different fancy boy and fancy girl restaurants and having wine and going to museums and things like that. Nobody deserves happiness like our guy Cons. He's a great dude who loves his wife, and I'm glad they're having a great time on a long extended honeymoon that's well deserved. See, look at that, me being nice. It's on the retreat.